When we think about child labor, the images that come to mind are sweatshops. When we think about the ethical concerns around makeup, our first thoughts are about animal testing. My name is Melita, and today I'm going to be talking to you about the intersection between child labor and the mica mining industry in India and its connection to the beauty industry. Mica is a mineral that is used for its glitter luster in electronics, toothpaste, and my particular focus, makeup products like foundation, mascara, highlighter, and so much more. Mica is mined in Europe, America, and China, but mostly in the Indian states of Jharkhand and Bihar. Here's a brief history. Mica has been mined in Jharkhand and Bihar for centuries, being used as decoration and even medicine amongst the locals. During the late 19th century, British colonizers discovered this land and the mineral and named the area the Mica Belt. By the time of India's independence in 1947, it had an upward count of 700 mines with 20,000 workers. Then came the Mica recession, as the USSR, known to be mica-hungry, collapsed. This resulted in the Indian government not monitoring the mines, and in 1980, they made mica mining illegal in certain states to prevent deforestation. The issue lies in the fact that while they criminalized mining, the government did not close the mines or provide opportunities for the miners to move to other industries, paving the way for illegal mining, family mining, and child labor. Once the mica is collected, it is sold to brokers who sell it to exporters, and these exporters generally do not investigate the supply chain for child labor. One of the main buyers is German chemical and pharmaceutical company Merck, who supplies the mica to the European makeup industry, including brands like L'Oreal, the world's biggest cosmetics manufacturer, and other companies like the UK-based Lush Cosmetics. Today, the mines produce most of the world's mica, with citizens having no choice but to risk their lives in the unstable work environments without protection equipment. While adults work in these mines, it's children who make up the bulk of the workers. Kids below 10 years old and as young as 4 are favored for their small bodies and nimble fingers, perfect to fit in the narrow, crumbling mines and pick at the mica with hammers and chisels, all at the risk of the mines collapsing on them. Children work 12-hour days, and their work is valued at give or take 20 to 30 rupees, which ranges from around 29 to 43 American cents. When an individual dies, all workers get 30,000 rupees, or about 432 American dollars. But they don't receive any improvements to working conditions. And what's even worse is that when people do die, the local officials cover up their deaths, distorting fatality counts. This indicates a plethora of human rights violations. Children having long workdays takes them away from attaining an education, even though for most children, school is desperately craved. As well, they face health dangers like head injuries, cuts, and skin and respiratory infections like scoliosis, tuberculosis, and asthma from breathing in the toxic mineral dust. An issue sprouting from health concerns is that they have to keep working to afford these treatments. And lastly, most of these workers are already the underprivileged in society, being Dalits, the lowest of the Hindu caste system, and Adivasi, the indigenous groups. Thus, like many other countries, their rich land has led to the exploitation of the indigenous and poorest in society, with them receiving nothing in return. So, what have these companies done about cleaning up their supply chain? When Lush was informed about the child labor in 2014, it tried to reach out to its suppliers but were told that they could not visit the mines. Therefore, they concluded that the best solution was to withdraw from using raw mica, and instead substitute it with a synthetic lab-made mica. The issue with this is that withdrawing does not tackle the humanitarian issues present in India. If children could not find employment through these mines, they would be forced to turn to other options, like sex work. Instead, human rights watchdogs suggest that brands need to clean up their supply chains and support programs of empowerment in these communities. This means paying the adults a decent wage so that their children are not required to work, effectively breaking the cycle of poverty. It also includes providing them equipment and education opportunities to tackle health threats. So, L'Oreal took a different path, which is outlined in a study by Maulana and Harhab. L'Oreal is committed to sourcing natural mica from India while ensuring traceability and transparency of its whole supply chain, helping to end the exploitation of children in the workplace and the use of forced labor. They state that suppliers thought to be using forced labor would be investigated by the L'Oreal Social Audit, which would be sending an auditor to verify the employment practices and working conditions of the miners. They would also work alongside an NGO known as Fair Wage Network to provide appropriate wages to the miners. And lastly, they would only buy from independently verified suppliers, mines that are gated where children are not allowed to work. On May 29, 2020, mica mining was asked to be restored in Jharkhand to regulate the industry and boot out child mining. It is also meant to stop illegal supply chains that are abusing the system because there are some issues in going to licensed or verified mines. While mining in Jharkhand and Bihar for the most part is illegal, it is not in other states in India like Andhra Pradesh and Rajasthan. And while the Indian government has set standards out, it isn't enforced and corruption runs high through third-party certification companies. The mica is sold to foreign companies under licenses from these verified mines, but brokers just lie about where the mica was sourced from. And the bigger issue here is that supply chains around mica mining are not developed enough for companies to truly ensure that child labor is not being used. Thus, companies have stopped fully relying on the government and instead started their own investigation processes. L'Oreal is a signatory of the United Nations Global Compact, where they stress the members must abide by its core commitment of conducting business responsibly by accommodating and implementing the internationally recognized human rights principles, thereby eliminating child labor. Thus, L'Oreal, alongside other companies like Chanel and Estee Lauder, initiated the nonprofit organization Responsible Mica Initiatives. Its three goals include complying with globally recognized workplace employment, occupational health and safety, and environmental standards that prohibit the use of child labor in Bihar and Jharkhand. While their goal is to eliminate child labor, they know that pulling out completely would be devastating for the companies that rely on this work. And so, in 2020 publication of RMI, some of their successes include providing treatment to over 350 malnourished children and providing 2,300 children with school worksheets while schools went into lockdown due to COVID-19. Other initiatives include the creation of child-friendly villages, where children evolve into their own activists, being included in conversations about development. Through meeting, kids learn about the rights and how to secure them. As well, the villages help parents find more work opportunities to support their families. Other similar foundations, like Satyarthi's BBA, has freed over 3,000 children from child labor in the mica mining industry, providing the kids with an education and connecting the communities with their governments to secure healthcare and infrastructure, with the hope of creating empowered communities who handle their own affairs. Ultimately, due to the underdeveloped nature of supply chains, child labor has not been eradicated as yet. As well, COVID-19 has pushed a lot of these families back into mining, as many have lost their jobs, like other individuals all over the world. But it is these sort of partnerships and organizations that are making a change in this human rights issue. While governments need to be held accountable and need to enforce their laws, it's through citizen action that children are now going to school and adults are being paid properly. From organizations to consumers all over the world, holding brands accountable and pressuring them to investigate their supply chains is a proven way to eradicate the harmful practices of child labor. Thank you for listening to my presentation.